Welcome to Verbal Peak Radio, where we give you a verbal image of life, and we are everyday people. I'd like to welcome you all to the show. This is one of the last podcasts in the year 2022, heading into the year 2023. So what that means is we got to hit you hard. We got to hit you with real life incidents and also show you how things could be and should be with certain knowledge and a certain awareness. But I couldn't do this without none other than Low Key. Brother Low Key, welcome to the show.
Man, appreciate that, Brother Black.
Yes, sir. Because, every day in 2022, right, now we're going into 2023 in numerology, which would be the number 7, which represents the number of God or the fulfillment or the fullness of, right? And so, meaning we're getting closer to that 9 of perfection, which is 2025. But doors are closing. We seeing so many chaotic incidents going on. And I want to speak upon one, which is the Megan Thee Stallion and the Tory Lanez incident that went down, the verdict today on finding him guilty. Brother Low-Key, what's your take on that situation?
So first, I want to give a shout out to Maligro Graham. I want to mispronounce her name, for doing an excellent, phenomenal job of covering this every single day, being in court, taking all of those notes, and giving us live, word for word, what everybody was saying in court. And from listening to all the information, this was supposed to be an open and shut case. But seeing as how this case was tried in the jurisdiction of the U.S., I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised, because we've seen miscarriage of justice is just the order of the day when it comes to the same people that have us defined to this day under a badge of slavery via the Negro Law of South Carolina, where when they defined us as black and as Negroes, they denationalized us and defined us as enslaved Africans. So we carry a badge of slavery to this day. No president, including Obama, or no politician has come forth and spoken upon this fact and corrected this problem.
Now, let me ask you this.
It just goes to show, as an absolute fact of how they really feel about our people.
Now, let me ask you this. And then, do you think the reason being why it hasn't been overturned, this badge of slavery, is because they want to use black people as tools to where we create, they take and eat from it, and we're like still in a virtual plantation where we the worker bees and we come up with all the creative thinking. They take that and benefit themselves as if black people are in a field, still in the field in a sense.
Absolutely. That's one of their last frontiers, because, we've spoken upon it on the podcast before, is that it's the signatures and agreements that got us. And that's part of it. That's the spiritual aspect of it. Because that's something that we created,
Right.
But we all know in a legal sense that when you sign off on the document, that's what makes it binding, when you put your signature down. So on our own volition, by us claiming something, then we're going to be bound to the definition of what we're claiming.
Right.
You know, ignorance is no excuse of the law.
There you go.
So if a person doesn't know the gravity of carrying the badge of slavery and what that encompasses, then there's no way for them to understand the ramifications that come behind that. Right. Legally, lawfully, when it comes to your credit score, when it comes to just even your consciousness. You know, these words have power. You know, they just had that case, and it was the words that was being spoken upon that got that innocent brother convicted.
Right.
You know, his DNA was not found on the weapon. There was a woman's DNA found on there, but they didn't test Kelsey, the friend of Megan, for DNA on the weapon. They did that on purpose because their only objective was to convict that brother. Because one of their biggest objectives that they got going on right now is that they want to keep this argument and divide between brothers and sisters going, because that was the original sin that started the triangular slave trade. It was us fighting amongst each other in 1492 in Spain.
Right, Granada, right.
In Granada, Spain, which is the last Moorish stronghold that fell in 1492 when Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand brought their kingdoms together, got in the ear of one side of the Moors, and there was two Moorish factions that fought against each other. And while that bloodshed was going on, Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand invaded and knocked down our last stronghold that we had as a people. You know, and then from there, the triangular slave trade started. You know, and from the late 1400s all the way through the 1500s, it was Moors exclusively that were being enslaved and brought over, you know, on prison ships, on cargo ships over here to the Americas. You know, so all of this is important because, you know, whenever they try to dismiss the Moors, you're dismissing a piece of the history that actually was the catalyst that started all this shit in the first place.
Right.
So you can't dismiss it and try to make a joke of something. Whenever they do that, they're making a joke of themselves.
Right.
They're not taking this thing seriously. You know, we can't, you know, say on one hand that some of us can be unified, but then the rest of us are traitors and cowards and all that garbage that Phil Scott, who's from our city, was talking on one of the last videos that he put up when the Moors were going to the reparations meeting in California, and he was talking about their African headdress. He said he didn't like it and he don't care what people think about it. He called those brothers cowards. He said that they were agents. You know, he slandered them. Right. And though I don't agree with everything that the Moorish Science Temple Moors say, they're not our enemies. You know, all of us that's on the same vibration that want to see unity, right. That's not just looking to, you know, shit on certain sects of us, you know, that really want to see us moving together as a unit. You know, we can't either we're gonna do it all the way, or, you know, we gotta start pointing out, you know, these people that are just here for division,
right?
Just here to divide us,
right? See, that's always been one of the colonizers. I'll use that term. Stronghold was that he can always get someone to go against another Moor or black person, i.e. black person, and sit back and watch the conflict. All right. He's been doing that. It's the same old trick. For Brother Phil, that is a tool that was used against the Moors, because the brother was making a solid point when he was talking about reparations in the form of gold, because gold is tradable worldwide and it holds its value, versus paper that is only held up by a belief in it. And if you can't tell me with the knowledge that he has that he doesn't understand that. So it led me to question him because why are you using a divide and conquer technique when your platform, as you speak, is about unity, and you also call it the African diaspora? You know the history behind the Feds. You know the history behind the Feds, and you know how delicate each member of, I don't care what the organization is, because they believe in what they believe in. And we have this saying about crabs in a bucket. But when you publicly come out and denounce a segment, how are you extracting any good or any positive energy into the movement of unity? It creates the divide further, is what I'm saying on that point. I didn't understand it. It was almost like, I don't understand it. I'm understanding now between private affairs and public affairs. Now, how Malcolm said, if we haven't had any disagreement, we supposed to come behind closed doors. We deal with it, then we put out a united front in the public, like we standing together, even though we just went and threw down in the closet. But only we know that. Then we come out in the public, we not finna show our hands. So that did bother me, and I was confused by it, brother.
Absolutely. And he said feds. So like you said, he knows because he said it. He said that it was the feds. First he called it a red hat, and he said that, hey, look, he was basically talking down and making a mockery of it. And he said, I don't care who doesn't like it.
Right.
But he said they look foolish, or, I'm paraphrasing, this, that, and the third, because they had traditional African headdress on.
Right.
Now, I want to bring up the Moros in the Philippines and sovereignty, and related to this case with Tory Lanez. The Moors in the Philippines, in the Spanish-American War, they fought against the United States in the 1900s, and they got their sovereignty out there. Look up Bangs Moreau. Bangs Moreau is the name of one of the places where they reside at. But if there is, some kind of conflict of interest going on amongst those Moors in the Philippines, they adjudicate those cases themselves because they have sovereignty where they live at. They handle those cases. They make the decision. I'm going to shout out DJ Academics too. I don't agree with everything that he says, but I appreciate the fact that he did a lot of polls. And these polls had, thousands, we're talking 5 digits or more. Maybe, wouldn't be far-fetched to say that he did a total of 100,000 votes on what the public opinion was of this particular case that just went down. And the numbers came up 90%, 92% in other cases, et cetera, et cetera. So us as a people, as a culture, we've already made our decision on how we feel about this particular case. Megan got up on
the Megan Thee Stallion case.
The Megan Thee Stallion case. Megan got up on the stand and said that she lied. She lied about sleeping with Tory because she didn't want people to look at it as, okay, well, I've been sleeping with my friends Kelsey, all these guys, Ben Simmons, and allegedly the baby, and definitively she admitted to sleeping with Tory. So she slept with Tory Lanez behind her partner. Kelsey was sleeping with Ben Simmons and Tory Lanez. And matter of fact, Megan Thee Stallion actually hooked them up. She told him that, she should go get with him. And then when Kelsey actually caught COVID, and she was flying out and sleeping with Tory at that particular time. So she didn't really care about it. And so she lied about that when she did the interview with Gayle. I think her name is Gayle King.
Right, Gayle King.
And so she got on the stand and admitted to lying. Now, when it comes to a case like this, you know, you're only supposed to convict someone when it goes beyond a reasonable doubt. Kelsey got up on the stand. The friend that was there, Megan's former friend, that the prosecution that was prosecuting the defense, which is Tory's side, the prosecution got up there and said that Megan hates Kelsey. They said that in the court of law, that Megan hates Kelsey. Mm-hmm. Even after she slept behind all the dudes that she was sleeping with. And Kelsey got up on the stand and said that Tory didn't shoot nobody. And she said that her previous, when she was talking to the police, I'm sure because she was scared and didn't want to go to jail, and she first put the blame on Tory, but then when she got on the stand on the oath, she went in there and said that she lied about virtually everything that she told the police in the first place. So there was no reasonable doubt in this case. The bodyguard of Megan Thee Stallion, they had to get a search warrant to go. They only found him today. They couldn't find him during the whole entirety of the case. He didn't even want to go up there and tell a lie on the stand. So they had to go and search and hunt him down to be able to even try to bring him, but it was already too late. You know, now Tory's side, the bodyguard was actually ready to testify on Tory Lanez behalf, but the prosecution said that they wanted to delay the trial another week if they were going to allow Tory's bodyguard, who was there on the scene, to be able to testify on his behalf. And the defense felt like that there was enough evidence to show that you can't convict this man beyond a reasonable doubt. So they said, well, no, let's go ahead and let's go get the verdict in, because they were confident, because they actually did a phenomenal job of proving that there was way beyond, reasonable doubt that he shouldn't be convicted of these three particular counts where he's now facing 22 years in prison. And I've been to jail. I've been to jail several times, county and McCowa, and in a holding tank on West Montgomery and Acres Home. And I can tell you firsthand that that's the worst place that I've ever been in my life. Yeah. And I've lived, in the ghetto. I lived in the hood, and I done seen a lot of shit in my life. But I ain't never seen no shit like that shit that I've seen when I was locked up. They had us in there, now the 13th Amendment says that, slavery is illegal unless you're convicted of a crime. So when I was convicted, I was a legal slave when I was in there. They had us in a room with at least 15 other brothers, because it's predominantly black men that are in there. Right. They had us in there butt naked, standing in there because one of the guys didn't turn his shoes the correct way when the black correctional officer was instructing us on how to line up our shoes, while we were putting them up so that we could be, they could give us whatever, clothing that they had us, the orange jumpsuits that they wanted us to jump in.
In processing, right.
In processing. So they had us standing there butt naked for at least 10, 15 minutes, just standing there still. Right. And the only thing that we could do is cover up our manhood.
Right.
So this is the kind of place that they have us in, that they have millions of us in. There are more of us as prisoners of war now in present day than it was during the triangular slave trade.
Come on. Fact. Now, let's get into the why. When we, as black men, black people in America, go into their jurisdiction, the court system, are we not recognized, or do we have the wrong status, or what are we doing wrong, or the fact that ignorance of the whole process is no excuse? And it's true, it's no excuse, because you should know. And if you don't know, then the information that Brother Low-Key is applying us with is to put you in the know. So in their jurisdiction, in their court system, when we walk in, whether we have a court-appointed attorney or we in there trying to defend ourselves, all we recognize as it stated within 1866 in the Civil Rights Act? Do we have the same rights as a white person, or do we not have rights that a white person is bound to respect?
We absolutely do not have the same rights. Our race and our race is literally our legal status. Our religion is literally our political status. When I say religion, I'm not talking about spirituality or what you practice on your own time. I'm talking about law, the law aspect of it. When you can go into a courtroom and open up a Bible or a Quran or a Torah or a Talmud and use it in a court of law to defend yourself in a case because it falls under divine law, which they defined it in the Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, as law ascribed to God. This is common practice. When we were Moors, dealing with Sufism, dealing with Islam, the Quran or Islamic law, Sharia law, was the law that we were using to handle our politics. I don't want our people to get confused whenever they see Middle Easterners mistreating their people and mistreating our people, confuse that with Islamic law. It's two totally different things. What we're witnessing, what they're doing is their culture. That has absolutely nothing to do with Islamic law. Two totally different things. So we need to get that straight first.
Right.
Now, when it comes to the jury, and we're gonna bring up Jennifer Jeffley in her case, because she was wrongly convicted of murder. This isn't for all the people out there, and especially the sisters that are cheering on, this brother getting convicted. Do you know that there are sisters that have also been wrongly convicted of crimes that they didn't commit in the same system that y'all are now currently cheering on?
Right.
Because y'all glad that a brother went down, because y'all got caught up in the propaganda of hating your reflection, of hating your other half. Because we're twin halves of the same essence. We're the same thing. When we look at each other, we're just looking at a reflection of each other. We're supposed to be learning from each other, building from what we come to understand from each other, not tearing each other down. Now, I'm going to cite an article and pull it up real quick. This is from the treaty between Great Britain and Morocco signed at Fez the 28th of July, 1760, Article 9, where they speak on whenever there's being a case adjudicated dealing with a Moor, that a Moor has to be present when that particular case is being adjudicated. A Moor is now in present day, is somebody conscious. It was the same back then because, we lost our consciousness in the triangular slave trade. Now, Mira Kush made a good point in pointing out that black people, they have been found to, as far as the jury is concerned, to convict black men at the same rate that white people do, or Europeans do, whichever term that you prefer, So we can't depend on just having black people on the jury and say that they're going to be on our side, because most Negroes are not conscious.
Right.
So they're not spiritually aware. They're not politically aware. They're not lawfully aware. They're totally unaware, by and large, of our history before slavery. So they just go in there and they just go with the general protocol that they've been taught and indoctrinated into via slavery, being passed down these slave traditions, including the names that we carry, our last names, first names, middle names, the badge of slavery in terms of our race and national origin. All of our spirituality, the fact that we were stripped and denationalized and disenfranchised of everything that made us who we are. So they go in there having a lack of consciousness and they rule against us. And that's why there's so many brothers and sisters that's locked up in prison wrongfully, not saying in all cases, but in many cases wrongly convicted of crimes that they didn't commit under the jurisdiction of the same people that enslaved us, starting from the point of 1492 to present day, because we're still See, slavery is actually the not correct terminology. We're actually prisoners of war. The correct term back then was prisoners of war.
Right.
Whenever you get occupied, because we're indigenous to America and Africa, whenever you have somebody, and that's one of the biggest tricks in the book too, is that if we don't identify with this particular land, then that means we don't identify that a foreign entity came and took over our land.
Right.
So it's easy for us to just roll right along with their jurisdiction and their program, and that's why we don't talk about sovereignty. You know? So that article that I quoted, where we're talking about, from that, we can use that article once we go and we get our race and our national origin changed via a court order. We can use an article like that to make sure that we have at least one more on the jury. Because if we have one more on the jury, if the brother Tory Lanez had one more on the jury, I bet all the bread that I got in my bank accounts right now that he wouldn't have been found guilty and facing 22 years in prison right now, because he would have for sure had somebody conscious 9 times out of 10 that was going to be able to see through the bullshit and wasn't going to roll with the program of these foreign colonizers and their garbage court of law, de facto court of law, which means that, yes, it is what it is, in fact, but it's not de jure because they're not the indigenous people of the land that they're occupying and claiming jurisdiction over.
Fact, but the one problem that I see is that, and when I say we, I'm talking about what's a better what's a better word? The let's say the disenfranchised, right? Mm-hmm. One problem with the disenfranchised is they got comfortable letting the occupier drive the boat. And another problem is they don't understand that a hard head makes a soft behind. You don't want to learn who you are. You don't want to learn about the greatest times in history when you ruled. So you're going to sit back, let the occupier drive the boat, and whenever his boat gets a hold or starts to sink or he getting on some rocky waters, you the first one he going to throw off. But there's nothing you can do about it because you didn't learn the procedures on the rights that you have by even being on the boat, or how to operate the boat yourself. So that's the point I was making when we started the show for the numerology. Meaning that how long are we not going to take responsibility for not knowing certain things at a particular time? You know what I mean? How long we gonna do that? Low. Hold on, I'm doing the show time. Low. Y'all hold on. I had got a phone call in, and we finna get Low back on the line real quick. We'll do it like that. Good, but we still live. We finna get him on real quick. Because how long? And that's the question. How long are we? You know, how long are we gonna continue to let them or take responsibility for the knowledge that we don't have? You go up in this courtroom and you depending on one, man, bro. And the funny part about it is, this is the conversation, really. You go in his courtroom, you go get a public defender who may work for a corporation, a record label, an organization. You trust in them, but they not standing on your status. You go in there and the first thing you ask them is, this is what I do. Damn, what do you know about the Moors, or how do you feel about the Moors? How do you feel about the Nation of Islam? What do you think about Farrakhan? What do you think about the Panthers? What do you feel about any conscious movement that I know? And if they like, oh man, we don't, talk about that, just, okay, well, you don't have my best interest at heart. We foreign. You foreign to me. Go get me somebody that's one of my peers then. So if I know I'm a Moor, then you right. Then I need some of my peers on that jury. If none of my peers are on that jury, then hell, how we gonna sit down? We gotta go find some people. I'm sitting in this court waiting on y'all to find some of my peers then. So what you're saying, Brother Low-Key, makes perfect sense as we move forward in time. See what old time is passing away, a new time is coming in. Meaning we can't continue on with the same old, because if we do, then what we're doing is we are relegating ourselves back to bondage. Because you put your mind and your brain asleep, and you are operating on someone else's ideas and agenda, or you want them to do for you what you could be doing for yourself. I see that. I know. I see it. It's coming. So you're right when you said we need Moors on the jury, and I'm still trying to understand why Brother Phil came at the Moors. It still it shocked me, especially to hear the language, because you are attacking someone who went and put an ideal on the table in regards to reparations. You wouldn't have put an ideal on how you think it should go, because reparations is not tricky, but it's not chess either. It's not checkers either. It's chess. It's going to take an analytical thinking. It's going to take mathematics to figure this thing out, because one is saying, okay, well, you have the blacks in America who show slave lineage should get the reparations. Then some said, okay, what about the Caribbeans? And what about the African families who got decimated when they took the men from West Africa and left and to where they lost out? Do they get some money? And so we got to weave all that out. But the bottom line is we understand that it's justified and reparations is due. What you think on that part, Brother Low-Key?
Man, Black, I got so much to say about it. It's so much to be said on these things. I'm so glad that I did that motion. I've learned so much about the details of these things. There's a lot of clarifications that have to be made. So Philip Scott, he had made a comment about Morocco, and that he actually made a colonizer a point that they bring up whenever they say, oh, well, if you ain't happy with the United States, then why don't you leave and go back to Africa? He actually made the same point they made. He told the Moors, you should go to Morocco if you don't like what?
Right.
That was some real
Yeah.
house nigga shit
But
that he said.
yeah, that was crazy.
And so for some clarification is that when we talk about Morocco, we're not talking about present day Morocco. A lot of those African countries, if not all of them, those names came about in like the 1950s. Those are not the original names of those countries.
Right, Nigeria. Right. A white woman named Nigeria in 1897.
There you go. There you go. So those demarcation lines, those political lines that exist now, those aren't the original lines that defined, these particular territories that we lived in. Morocco was way much larger back in medieval times when all this shit was going down with the triangular slave trade. This is medieval times we're talking about.
Yeah.
Morocco, it was not only was it larger, but Morocco also had jurisdiction over all of West Africa. You can find that all throughout the treaties. You can find that via the International Court of Justice case, which is in the motion, which we're going to make available to the public. We got a whole really historical timeline in this motion. So we got solutions. We're not just speaking on the problems. We got solutions for y'all too. Yeah. So when we speak about Morocco, we're not just talking about that little small piece of land in present day that exists. First and foremost, we're talking about all of West Africa as well. Right. So we're not gonna. Also, I recommend that our people go through AfricanAncestry.com and get a certification of their DNA bloodline, so that they can have more evidence, DNA evidence, which the prosecution didn't have DNA evidence that Tory Lane's DNA was on the weapon. But you can get DNA evidence from getting that certification from AfricanAncestry.com of proof of your ties to Africa, because you're going to need that when it comes to your worldwide international political status and legal status. So this goes beyond the U.S. It goes beyond colonizer. This is about consciousness at the core of what we're talking about. All roads lead to the soul is what we're talking about. We're talking about a conversation. We're talking about our conversation becoming more sophisticated when we're conversing with each other, because we've been going in circles for quite a long time. Shout out to Dr. Claude Anderson. He said some years ago that we haven't moved one iota in terms of power, wealth, and resources in 100 years.
Right.
So we're just going in circles. We're repeating the same cycles. We're still throwing each other under the bus, and we're still separating each other. So any movement and any teacher that's out there that's involving themselves in us separating ourselves from each other, and they're not speaking directly towards the solutions of us coming together, I look at y'all as traitorous. And if a war broke out and y'all was still on that type of time, you'll be the first one I'll be looking to cut your throat.
Right. Yeah.
On the record, for the record, just letting you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is serious. This is about our consciousness. This is about where we're going. This is a serious game that we in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we're gods and goddesses. We put ourselves in a very serious game. We're playing for keeps.
Right.
In this game. This ain't a joke.
No.
You're cheering for our own detriment. You see a brother go down when the people that was involved in the situation both got on the stand and said they lied repeatedly.
Right.
And y'all cheering for that?
Yeah, they don't understand. You creating a precedent for future cases.
Man,
don't even know it.
Man, I'm telling you, man, and the brothers, if y'all think that this is an excuse to go out there and start slandering black women, you don't get it. You just as lost as these buffoons is.
Right.
This ain't what this is. This is supposed to be a call for us to unify. Low key, I ain't gonna say too much, but y'all know what we're really supposed to be doing. Right. Some shit like this go down.
Yeah.
But y'all ain't ready for that because y'all ain't conscious enough. Y'all still playing divide and conquer games with each other.
Fact. Well said. Really, that was all that needed to be said, because that was straight to the point. And I hate this. I actually hate to see celebrities and entertainers come out and speak for the masses, because I don't know what they promised you or told you behind the scene. Because for some reason, as a black community, we let our celebrities and entertainers speak or lead for us. And then our so-called professors, especially in history, I mean, it ran me hot when, and I forgot the brother's name, but he's a historian at Princeton University. And when Kyrie Irving tweeted the link to Hebrews to Negroes, he was on TV dissing Kyrie Irving when you are a professor, a historian with a vast library to where all you had to do was go say, well, no, this African tribe is a Semite, this is, and ended the confusion. What are you teaching the children, and what's your role? What's the purpose of even calling yourself a historian when you got the facts but you won't speak on the truth? You know, like you said, they got a role too. They got to go too, because you're not servicing the people. You're not justifying your profession. What are you here for? Me and I'm saying, and I'm trying to put it in a way that the masses can understand me. What I'm saying is, what's the point? Like you said, are we just here to go around in circles? Or are we trying to establish a goal and work towards that goal and then make it better for the next generation? Freedom. How can you make it better for the next generation if you're not putting the time and the works in? If you're not reading, if you don't understand how important knowledge and power, jurisdiction, sovereignty, status, if you don't understand any of that, now, Brother Low Key, then at a certain period in time, then it's time to cut the strings. Is where we at. Is, I'm sorry. Is, hey, we come out and defend those who don't know, and then we shine light on what they should know as far as the knowledge that you should pertain in order to carry yourself a certain way, to defend yourself in its court systems, and to be upright. But if you don't get it by now, then what you're saying is, I'm comfortable being a slave. They can have their way with me, and you Negroes is crazy talking that freedom talk. You know what I mean? In 2022. Because the knowledge and the information is out there. Hell, the motion that you're putting together and the knowledge is in there will be made public. You can read it. But if you don't act on the knowledge, what the hell? Right? Then you start saying those who do know, well, look, man, I'm not finna be a victim. I'm gonna get me together, get my family together, and I don't bother me. You know what I mean? I'm ready. Now, if you go and snatch someone who did an about face and turned their back on knowledge, I don't know what you think. I mean, what can we do? Or I don't want to call. I'm not saying I'm calling it quits too early. I'm just simply saying, damn, you know, how many?
I feel you, man. I feel you.
You know what I mean?
It's disheartening, man. It's so disheartening.
It's disheartening. What is Dred Scott out there? You didn't learn that from Dred Scott? You What they say when you standing in the court, you standing as the king. You paying tax, they in your jurisdiction. Why you going in there with your hat in your hand and hoping you gonna get the outcome that you have in your mind? Like some kind of magic dust, and you dealing with those who dislike you. And you go in there and you don't know nothing about him and his history. And you don't know nothing about yourself and your history. And you just walk in there butt naked and hope he gonna and throw yourself on the mercy of his system. So at least the question really though, Brother Key, who's out of their mind? Now, do we have amnesia? Who got hit in the head, man? Are we Hiram? Did we get hit in the head and we waiting on somebody to come pour some oil in our cup, or meaning fill our brain with knowledge? Okay, what if somebody come fill your brain with knowledge? Are you going to stand on that knowledge and maneuver? Or do we still got amnesia from 400 years of slavery, not knowing how to read and write, and we set up there? I don't know. And the reason why I'm saying this, Brother Key, is because you got other migrant groups coming to America with a plan. And what I don't want to see happen is everybody take their turn building off the backs of black people. Another wave come through, open up a convenience store right in the hood, and they ride out with all the cash and send their kids to college and school and so, and you in your hood, probably second, third generation, and he talking bad to you in the store. Then get on TV and say, "Oh, they come in here stealing, they this and they that." Well, damn motherfucker, you didn't understand the area you was at before you even opened up the store? You trying to tell me you didn't research? You open up the store in black communities for a reason, so you can get that wealth and complain and say, "Look at them, see, look how they do." Well, if you was that afraid, why even come in there? There's plenty of places you go put your little cheap convenience store in. Why you came here seeking out black folk and selling loose cigarettes, and you selling this and that and making money, and at the same time you complaining about the customer? Meaning, it's time we got to stop being used as tools, man. Made fools out of. Or time comes where you say, okay, well, if that's what they want to do, have them, use them. You know, if you wanna hate on the next man's God-given gifts, you know, and whatever karma comes and hits you, that's on you. You know, I don't know, right? I mean, and the reason why I'm saying it again is the time is getting short, and the major focus got to be put on what you said on building and growing for those that have like minds. But the final call, man. Hey, what you gonna do? Time is running out. It's sad. I'm gonna tell you why though, bro. Low keys, because scientifically, melanin speaks to itself. So if you got melanin, if you're a person of melanin, the chemical makeup that makes up the melanin in your skin communicates with other melanin in other skins. That's why when certain things happen unjustly to another melanated person, we all feel it. We connect it that way, right? So those who understand, know, and care would say, hey, this is the way to stop the pain. You got to learn this. You gotta maneuver like this. You gotta stand on your square like this. You gotta be upright like this, and that will stop the pain. But after so long, hey man, if you don't want to, and if you comfortable being a slave, then just say, hey man, I like my slave status, right? I'm finna ride the slave wave and see where it take me. Okay, cool. Then do your thing. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I don't know, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Oh.
sir. Yes, sir. I mean, like I said, it's so many things that really need to be said. We'll be days on days on days. There's so many points because there's so many points of contention that are crucial in this whole thing that's going down. In the present, in the now, and so for one, is that some people would say that y'all crazy to think that y'all gonna go in their courtroom and get some kind of justice. It's not the point.
No.
That's not the point that we're making. We know what we're stepping into. The point is that they want to keep us from becoming conscious. When while Philip Scott was in there talking down on the feds, we got the legal and religious right to go into a courtroom with our feds on. They don't want us to do it because of, number one, what it represents. Because when you look up the presidents, you'll see how many of those are wearing the feds.
Right.
You look up the history and find out why. Which really, I can tell you in short, is because they we taught them. So everything that they've been doing is them trying to become us.
Right.
And get to where we're going, because they know that we got the divine spark in us where we're going to whether you want to call it the quantum realm, the sweet by and by, they want to go to that place that they were taught about by our ancestors. So some of them figure that they can step in our shoes and then that'll get them the ticket, for them to be able to go to that particular place. But that's really a whole nother subject, but I'm just saying that so I could, speak on the core of what's really going on. Because this ain't just about y'all human opinion. This is way deeper than that. This is Matrix. I'm speaking about the game that we in. So when we talk about going into court and getting court orders and, reversing, these contracts that we bonded ourselves in, into in the past, and wearing the feds and all of these different particular things, and talking about jurisdiction and sovereignty, all of that raises the consciousness of our people. We're trying to evolve the conversation of our people. Yes, in war, you always going to have fallen soldiers. So if any of our people go in there as soldiers and they fall, that's just a part of war. Mm-hmm. So we know what we stepping into. We know we stepping into a war ground, but it takes those heroes of the past, those superheroes, the Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Marcus Garvey, the El Haj Malik El Shabazz of the world. It takes these superheroes, that were soldiers that fell on the war grounds in order for us to even have the consciousness that we got today. That's our bloodline. That's in our DNA. That's in our genes. How you going to separate yourself from that? How you going to separate yourself from the essence of what you are? Because you say you FBA, you ADOS, you are Aboriginal, you Hebrew. We're indigenous. We're living souls. We're all of the. We have the most diverse genetic makeup pattern in America than anybody on the planet. We're all of those things. You can't separate yourself from none of us on the planet.
Right.
That's why I'm a Pan-Africanist, because I'm not so lame and so illogical that I can't look at another brother and sister and understand that I'm looking at my reflection.
Come on.
You can't take our spirituality out of this and try to make everything surface level. That ain't the way that this game is being played and being perpetuated to us. All of these multi-billion-dollar movies that they're putting out there, they got two messages going on. A surface-level human message and a subconscious message. Mm-hmm. The consciousness follows the subconscious, so the subconscious message is more important than the conscious message that y'all Negroes out there arguing about. And some of the arguments, some of the points of contention that's being brought up are very important. Shout out to Dr. Umar, man. Man, that brother, man, I got a lot of respect. Y'all can say what y'all want to say. A lot of that stuff he's saying, part of it is for entertainment, but it's to bring in the unconscious people into the message. So he got to sprinkle a little seasoning and a little shit to make y'all laugh, to get y'all to the message.
Right.
Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad was an expert, a genius when it came to that particular aspect.
Yeah.
Of being an orator.
Right.
Of being an orator.
You got to meet them where they at.
You can't take spirituality out of these conversations. And I'm saying this because I was talking to a comrade of mine and we were talking about this earlier. You can't take that out of these conversations because when you do that, you're taking out the core of what they're actually attacking, which is our subconscious mind. Our conscious mind follows. Our conscious mind is the protector of our subconscious mind. It's to protect. The function of it is that so that when information is being projected to us, that we don't just follow everything that's being told to us. It's the doubting Thomas. It's the shield that protects our subconscious mind. So what we're saying is, and the reason why we're saying this is that we're coming with reverse programming because we have studied and we understand and have experienced all of the garbage, the goulash that they fed to us, to our ancestors, to our people now, that has us in the situation that we're in now for us to even have this conversation in the first place. And this ain't just for the people that we're speaking to. This is for our own self-evolution and our own consciousness. We gain more understanding and more experiences by having these podcasts. This ain't just for y'all, it's for us.
Right.
We in this shit together. Ain't no separation.
Come on.
We're only in the appearance of separation. That's part of the game that we in. We're really just one thing. So we got to get out of the separation and get out of the argument and the bullshit ass gender wars because we're only one motherfucking thing. The first principle in the 7 Hermetic principles, which are the 7 principles of Tahuti originally from Kemet, is the principle of mentalism, which is the all. It speaks to the all in all, the oneness of this game that we're in. That we're only in the appearance of separation, and really it's just one thing that we're dealing with. It's talking about unity. It's talking about what we were before we came to identify ourselves as male and female. It's talking about our soul. The first principle in the 7 Hermetic principle is talking about our soul. The thinking apparatus of our soul is our subconscious mind. It said the mind is all and the universe is mental. That's the first principle. That's a universal truism that can't be debated. Those 7 principles are possibly the only thing that can't be debated in this game that we in. So you can't when you say take spirituality out of these conversations, then you got to take those 7 principles, those universal truisms, principle of vibration, principle of gender, principle of rhythm, principle of cause and effect, principle of mentalism, and so on and so forth. You got to take that out of the conversation too. If you're going to take spirituality out of it, because spirituality is just a study of the subconscious mind. What we talking about?
Come on, bro. Yeah.
This is what this shit about. We ain't talking about just going to the court on a battle. This shit is about our subconscious mind and reprogramming ourselves because we got somewhere to go. And I'm trying to get there. I ain't trying to wait no motherfucking 400 more years to get there. I'm trying to get there as soon as possible. So y'all got to put them childish games away, and we got to get to it, man, and get off the division bullshit. Stop acting like house niggas and coons and get on board.
That's the energy that will establish the move for 2023. We're going into 2023 with the right mindset because what I've learned from this show is when you stated just by going in that courtroom wearing the fez raises the level and the spiritual level. That's powerful. Just by doing certain things is building the being back up again. That's spiritual. That's powerful, bro.
Absolutely.
That's what it's about. I mean, no, that you made the message so clear to hell, a fool can understand that. It takes away all the doubt. You can literally do acts, and those who aren't afraid, who doesn't act, that raises the level of us all. Then the next one go in and raise it and keep raising and keep moving. That's progress. Huh? I agree. That was powerful, bro. I appreciate you setting the agenda and the tone for the future. So we can't go back now to a sub level, because knowledge has been given. Now we gotta act on it to qualify ourselves. Hey, we needed that. That was given in a way that you can't say I didn't know or I haven't heard. You can't hide now. The agenda been set, right? As they say, Christians, pick up your cross and let's go. Grab your scimitar. Let's ride. Put your,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
let's go then. Yeah, because and I learned something because I couldn't see, I couldn't see what was down the line, because sometimes when you in it and you fighting and you in it, it's like, what's the next phase? What's the next step? And yeah, I see the next step. It's not basically, but it's standing upright and go for yours, as you are, who you are spiritually being. We're tired, but we have value and worth, and stand on your worth. They try to, in their films and in their narrative, try to depict us as sub beings, and some fell for that. But no, we are the original. Mansa Musa, the richest man that ever lived. We did it with Egypt. The Moorish Empire spread it throughout the world. So really, when you look in the mirror, you see a reflection of your other families, i.e. brothers or sisters, but also the greats of the greats that existed before you, as a testimony or witness that it was done. And if it was done, it could be done again. And we on the process of doing it again, brother. But I appreciate you for being on the show, brother Low-Key.
Man, hey, before you wrap it up, man, I want to give one more spiel out.
Yes, sir.
I want to give a few more shout outs. Both living and dead are superheroes, or I should say living in transition, I should say, because the energy was just transferred. It's still alive, very much so alive in us. Dr. Sebi,
Yes, sir.
Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark, Sister Rosa Parks, Nat Turner.
Come on.
My father, my mom, peace be upon them, my nephew, Draquan Marquez Brown, who was murdered by the police in 2019, 7 days before my father transitioned. And the police said that my nephew committed suicide. He was pulled over on a simple traffic violation. And just like in many cases, and that's why, one of the inspirations for us speaking tonight is that there's so many cases where there has, you have these, travesties that happen. And, it just so happened that my nephew he got caught out there with, they call themselves the police department, but originally they were the Ku Klux Klan. Y'all should go check out the history of the KKK by Bobby Hemmett, Triple OG Bobby Hemmett, where he breaks down the entire history of the Fraternal Order of Police and where they come from and their origins and why they moved the way that they move today. I also give a shout out to Sarah Sunsetti for breaking down the Talmud, which is the most holy. It's the holiest of holy books of the European Jews. And based on the Talmud, they're bound by divine law, by religious law, to hate us, to literally hate us. So them being a part of slavery, European Jews, they're actually just carrying out their divine law via their Talmud that they created. Now, I want to throw in here as well. There was a case where Abraham Lincoln and a Moor that was from Portugal, and Abraham Lincoln was an attorney at that time because a lot of these politicians and presidents, they were attorneys first.
Right.
So so when it comes to us as Moors, it's just standard protocol for us to study the law and legality. And so when we speak on politics and things of that nature, you can't just push us to the side, because when it comes to Europeans, the ones that got jurisdiction over the U.S. where we live at, the attorneys are the ones that run the country. Just throwing that out there. Now, in that case with Abraham Lincoln, he quoted when he was defending this Moor that he said, though it is not a crime to have black skin, it is a crime to be a Negro. Because the way that Negro was codified in their legal system, it is synonymous with criminal, felon, and slave. And so it's no surprise that there's so many brothers and sisters that are prisoners of war, i.e. slaves, in their system to this day. So, maybe Philip Scott is mad because the Moors, they have brought up this point of contention with the term black. Also, shout out to Father Allah and Prophet Noble Ali. Now, the thing is that I am a black-skinned man. We are a black-skinned people. Black is the subconscious mind as far as the symbolism is concerned. White represents the conscious mind. Red represents the root chakra. Orange represents the sacral chakra. Yellow represents the solar plexus. Green represents the heart chakra. Blue represents the throat chakra. Indigo represents the third eye chakra or the brow chakra. And violet represents the crown chakra. This is how our ancestors define these vibrations, these frequencies, these color frequencies that illuminate creation so that we can see what's going on when we're looking around. So yes, we are a black-skinned people. We love that. That is something that's divine. All that we're saying is that they first incorporated the term black to disenfranchise us and label us as cargo. Because when they were bringing us over from Africa, they were doing that illegally because they had contracts, in particular with the Moors, that said that it was illegal for them to do that. So when there were even people in Africa selling our people into slavery, that was illegal. They wasn't supposed to be doing that. They were violating the treaty. Right. So they were sellouts, but they didn't know that. They didn't know about chattel slavery. They knew about indentured servitude. There's a big fucking difference. That's apples and oranges. That's two totally different things. So when you hear brothers and sisters saying that everybody has been a slave, let's put it in the proper context.
Right.
Everybody was a slave because slave is a slang term for the Slavic people that were defeated by another group of Europeans. We just use that as a slang term. Really what we are, we're prisoners of war. But there's a difference between chattel slavery and working, let's just say in one case for 7 years, and also still having rights and privileges, and after 7 years being able to, secure a certain amount of land and a certain amount of resources. We work these jobs for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and we don't get that.
Right.
So we can't even say that what we're doing now at these jobs is better than indentured servitude back in ancient times.
Right.
So we gotta put it in the proper context and make a clear differentiation between chattel slavery and indentured servitude. And we got to get more sophisticated in the way that we converse with each other. So yes, we're a black-skinned people. We're just saying that we're not cargo. Because when you move around cargo and you go into Walmart and they give you a Spanish translation of a black vacuum cleaner and it says on there the word Negro, that's because it's an item, it's a piece of cargo. They disenfranchised us and turned us into an object.
Right.
We're denying that. We're not denying our black skin. We love our black skin. We love our melanin. We love our carbon. That's what makes us divine. That's a sign of us having that divine spark, made in the image and likeness of.
Right.
We're a black-skinned people. We just got to get more sophisticated in the way that we converse with each other, in our actions, in our politics, the way that we deal with each other. And that'll get us faster to where we're going, because we're going to get there anyway. We're just trying to speed up the process.
Come on, but we got to keep doing shows like this that's educating on points that need to be made. And you're right, that summed up the argument between black and Moor. You're right, we don't want to be called an object, but we do love our melanated and black skin. I mean, another point, well put, that should do away with that argument, because in our sincerity, it's all about love anyway. We trying to get this thing right. But like you said earlier, why bring the division when you do it out of care for your people and love for your people? Then you will find that solution that bridges the gap, that brings harmony again. And I think that did it right there, bro. That solved that problem. We don't have to argue over that no more.
For real.
Yeah, we're not objects that they took. Don't get that wrong. But we do love who we are.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Okay, come on, problem solver. We problem solving tonight. Hey, put that mathematics to work. Solve it.
Yes, sir.
We moving forward into 2023. We not moving backwards. No, we walking in straight up, head up, shoulders back. We not tiptoeing into 2023. All right on time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we solving problems. Take that one off the books, then we take them two off the table. Yeah, we got something to work with now. And we not through. We not through. We gonna keep on bringing you shows and keep enlightening the audience, the listeners, i.e. with the show that we're doing, with music that we do, that's soon to be released. The movie Black's Journey, Peace to Chaos. You can go check that out on grindcity.biz and also grindcity.tv. Check it out. They out of Pennsylvania, grindcity.biz, and also get the book Consequence by Vince Cole Muhammad, Barnes and Nobles, and on Amazon. Brother Low Key, before we get out of here, any last words, anything you'd like to say before we wrap it up?
Man, y'all go check out Moorish Empire on pretty much all social media platforms, Moorish Empire. And, this is dedicated to, once again, my father, Richard Brown, peace be upon him. My mom, Adele Toombs, peace be upon her. My nephew, Draquan Brown, peace be upon him. To all our ancestors that stood on business, on 10 toes down for the crown. For everybody that wants to see us unified, this is dedicated to y'all.
For Prick Radio. With that said, we out.
Yeah.